I've always been taught that a delayed blessing is not a denied blessing. You're a threat to no one, and everyone wants to help when you're a child. We're going into a season of collaboration. Um, and there's enough work out there now for everybody, right? If you want to do your thing, it's enough work out there for everybody. But I feel that we're going into a season of collaboration.
Hello, everyone. This is Pam, de Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast that features Latine and people of the global majority who break barriers, change lives, and make the world a better place. Welcome to episode 349 of Café con Pam. Today, we have a conversation with Euran Daniels. Euran is a native of Wilmington, North Carolina, and he has excelled to achieve numerous milestones within his lifetime. At age 47, he's often been identified by media as one of the most influential African American males in the nation. In 2021, Euran became an award winning author with his contribution to the anthology Business Success Secrets. This book has earned numerous awards since its release, including a USA Today bestseller, Amazon bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller, and 2021 Reader's Favorite Award. Often categorized as a young businessman, Yuran has been a role model for business leaders throughout the world. At age 10, he started his own video production company, Reflections Video. At age 15, Black Entertainment's Television Teen Summit and Coca Cola labeled him as one of the top 10 teens in the nation. This has allowed him to gain international recognition for his achievement in business. Yuran immediately transitioned from smaller projects to larger scope projects in film and television. And listeners, Yuran is awesome. He, as you heard, has done a lot in his career. He started super young. And of course, we explore that because when I heard his story, I was very curious about this 10-year-old starting a video production company. And he's really generous with all of the things that he shares. And I think this is definitely going to be an episode that you will enjoy and you will learn a lot from because there's so many nuggets in this conversation. Y bueno, sin más, here's my conversation with Euran Daniels. Euran, welcome to Café con Pam. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you?
I am well. Hope you are well.
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. So, the first question that we always ask is what is your heritage?
So I am African American. I'm born and raised in Wilmington, North Carolina, on the coast. So I am a Carolina baby, but I have lived most of my life here, actually all of my life in North Carolina. I currently reside in Raleigh, North Carolina, but born again and raised in Wilmington, North Carolina.
So, you never left North Carolina?
Never left. Travel extensively, but my roots and everything are here in North Carolina.
Wow. Did you ever think of moving?
I have. I have. I thought about the West Coast, Carolina, West Coast, Los Angeles. Thought about New York. Thought about Chicago. So thought about a number of different places, and I have family in all of these places. But again, my businesses and my base is here in Carolina. So I've elected to stay here in North Carolina.
Nice. So, tell me, how does a 10-year-old start a business, a production company?
So it actually started from a passion, from a hobby. I love dealing with cameras. I love dealing with electronics as a whole. Started out with a camera that was under a Christmas tree. Got up early that morning and I started looking at it around, and the camera caught my eye. So um, that's kind of the baseline from it all. It grew from there. I opened it up before anyone else got up, and happened to go in and start recording people in bed getting up. So that's where it
Was
all
the camera
started.
for you?
It was a family-based camera, but it
Okay.
quickly turned into my toy. So I would say yes. According to me, it was for me, right?
Right. So, you get this camera under the Christmas tree, you start recording, but that, I mean, that's like, a 10-year-old could do that. How do you say, I'm going to turn this into a business? Which still exists today, right?
Yep, absolutely. So I had let me level set the playing field. I had absolutely no intentions on starting a business from this. It was all out of fun. I started just recording things that I enjoy recording. I started around the house. Then I started going to different events, recording, and I loved how it all came together. Right? I loved the focuses, the lens. I loved just bringing it all together from the editing. And I didn't have a lot of equipment. You know, at age 10, you're talking about a $600-700 camera, right? So I had
Mm-hmm.
none of that. So I just enjoyed filming, recording, and going back watching what I did. So it all started from there. And then from there, people started asking me to come out and record. And I think they were more interested in the kid versus actually getting something and figuring out what the kid can do. At a, I probably covered more territory as a child because I had full access to any and everything because I was no threat to anyone, right? So people started asking me to come out and record, and they would just give me things as a contribution. You know, here, take this, take that. And then eventually we said, okay, we're going to start charging just a little small amount, to go here, to go there. And it was really nothing. Again, it was all out of fun. And one thing it did do, and I will credit um, the hobby for, is it kept me out of trouble because I was always busy. You don't see that as much now. But again, never had any intentions on starting it as a business. It evolved into the business.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have one older brother. Yes.
And you also come from entrepreneurial parents, so they had businesses.
Yes.
What was their reaction when you started getting these invites? And like, the 10-year-old, maybe, it evolved like 12, whatever,
Yep.
but
Yep. So I would say I was very fortunate as a child. My mother and father were there. They were even though they were entrepreneurs themselves, never at any point in this game did they push me into the platform, right? Everything kind of evolved, but I was very fortunate because I had 100% support from the household, right? From my
mm,
brother. He's always been very supportive since day one. My mom, my father has always been very supportive since day one. And that meant the world because that basically said I have full territory, right? I can do whatever I want to do. And they got benefits out of it too, right? You know, if my mom did an event, she can come home and look at it free of charge, right? If my dad did an event, same thing. My brother, same thing. So they got some of the benefits from it, but never was there any intentions on pushing me into that arena. It's always been basically a level playing field so that I can go out and enjoy what I was doing as a child. And things just kept evolving. One thing led to another, one person called another, things just kept evolving around the community. So it was very much so a community based initiative, I would say indirectly, right?
yeah,
And then things just kept evolving from there. So, like I said, I'm very, very grateful because that support meant the world to me at that point in time.
for sure. Who was your first client that actually paid you money?
It was a church. I grew up in churches. Grew up in church. Um, I play 11 different instruments, so that was very helpful. I'm very musically gifted. My mom is very musically gifted, so we used to go from different churches in our community to play. Obviously, we would have different church outings. So I would say probably my very first client was a church. I don't know who that particular church was. I'm sure it's probably my home church at that point in time. But it all, again, started through churches. And then it evolved from there, yep, from church services. Then it kind of stemmed over into weddings and anything around the church events, evening services, and those types of things.
Yeah, I think I grew up Catholic, but the Christian church is something that I notice is very community driven. I mean, maybe Catholics too, but I'm a bad Catholic. I'm no longer a Catholic, but I know people that have grown up in the church, and many times their first clients come from their church, which is awesome.
Yeah. Now looking back, um, I was very fortunate because every aspect of my life was family oriented,
Mm.
right? My family, my household, my church family, my school family, my friends. So everything that I was in, looking back now on it, and I can tell the story. I grew up in a very supportive environment. Um, and again, as a child, if I can talk to children today, I would say start what you want to do now, even if you don't know that's what you want to do. Start it now because you have full access to it, right? You're a threat to no one, and everyone wants to help when you're a child. So they'll give you what's in their pocket just because you're a child trying to do the right thing, right? So the family-oriented environments was definitely very, very beneficial. Like I said, church was very instrumental in that as well.
Did you ever, because I mean, obviously, you started super young, and I know things evolved and, it went from like maybe some trades to then eventually money, but did you ever feel not enough because of like, you start with a home camera,
Are you referring to not enough equipment or not enough money?
not enough knowledge to know what to do?
Um, I would say I've always been eager to learn. Um, and I've always been willing to step up to a challenge. That has been very, very, that's in my blood. That's in my bloodline, my bloodstream. Never afraid of a challenge, never afraid to step up to the challenge. The other piece of it, I think, is very critical. Is I've never been afraid to ask questions. So what I don't know, I connect with folks who did know, and they, again, as a child, open access, they'd be willing to tell me everything that they were aware of. So there were a lot of things I didn't know and I learned along the way. um, but I made sure that I was ready for whatever task was at hand, right? So if I were going to go out and do an event, I made sure, I halfway understood lighting. I did, and I practiced a lot behind the scenes, right? So that I know what the lighting would look like, how much lighting, I thought I would need. And again, didn't have an extensive amount of equipment, but lighting, positioning, and those types of things are very key. So I did a lot of practicing behind the scenes, but what I didn't know, I wasn't afraid to ask the question. And I made sure that I connected and surrounded myself with mentors that were in the industry and that I knew, whether they were at a television station, a film studio, or wherever. I tend to follow them, look at them, study them, so that whatever they did, I tend to do. So if they did something wrong, I
Mm.
did it wrong too, right? Because I was following in their footsteps. But I say all that to say I surrounded myself with folks who did know. So didn't know everything as a child, but I wasn't afraid to ask questions in order to advance my skill level.
I love that. And you mentioned that you play 10 instruments. That's a lot. Was music ever a thing that you wanted to do as your career?
No.
No.
No. Again, I was always a hands-on type of person, right? I'm never afraid of a challenge or anything. I grew up in a school band. Um, and I would say even before that, my mom played piano and organ in the church. We were fortunate enough to have one in the house, right? So I would watch her. My grandfather played as well. My uncles played. So music came naturally to me. Came naturally to me. Again, growing up in a music family, it was. In fact, my brother plays as well. So that was music was no strange environment to me growing up. So never thought about going into music. Again, most of my musical career was in the church. I did play the band, didn't play in college, but I played in high school band, middle school band. So it was always an interest of mine that's there. Love connecting with other musicians and doing different things of that nature. But I don't think I ever considered taking it in a career level, taking it to the next level from a career standpoint. I just enjoyed playing it as a hobby.
Interesting. And like since your mom played, like it was never like a conversation of like, oh, you can take your, because it's highly talented to play so many instruments.
It,
Like
it,
it's not,
it is. It is. And it's funny because music is an environment that connects people, right? So being able to play jazz, being able to play Christian music, those types of things, if I walk into an environment and someone plays, that's always a connection, right? That's always been a way to connect. Many people cannot connect to a variety of types of music. And I never studied music again in college or anything like that. But for what I do know and what I did come up with, I was exposed to um, a variety of types of music. So That that was very helpful. And then down the line, it all came together, right? Because now, as we get more into the editing aspect of videography, right? I kind of lean on that musical side of it to say, I think this would be a great fit for this. This would be a great fit for this. So it does all come full circle. I'm just one for utilizing those skills and figuring out how to make whatever project work by incorporating those different skill sets.
For sure. That was going to be my next question. How did music inform your work with video? Because it definitely does. It's connected.
Yeah, I mean, with editing, again, 10, 11, 12 years old, didn't have much
Mm.
editing equipment, but as I started getting into that level of editing, it was unbelievable as a childhood looking back because I was able to get into television studios. Some of my mentors were actually, videographers within TV studios. And I just asked the question, can I come in and kind of hang out? And again, no threat at age 11, 12, 13. So come on in. But I got it. I was exposed to editing at that point, and then I understood music, and I understood accents through music. I understood the different types of music, how to incorporate it to make the story tell itself more appealing, right? Make the story more appealing. So again, it all came together and all came full circle, and I think the aspect of music allowed me to better understand editing when it came to putting things together and putting the story together. So that was very helpful, I think.
I love that connection of like everything that we do eventually will come, like you shared, full circle.
Yes.
And we'll get
Yeah,
to utilize it for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
So you grew up and you go to college. What did you study?
I studied communications, mass communications,
Mm, not business.
not business, surprisingly. Took a number of business courses, but my studies were actually in mass communications. I went to North Carolina State University here in Raleigh, and that's how I ended up in the triangle area here there. But my career has spanned in a number of different directions. Studied in mass communications, but went into technology. So um, yeah, all over, all over. But again, it all comes full circle. It all comes full circle, and I think that's the big picture and the moral of the story.
So at the point when you're in college, you still have this production business.
Yes.
And was there was there ever a conversation, given that you have a close knit family, was there ever a conversation of like, well, now that you're in college or even high school or whatever, like now that you're taking your studies more serious or whatever, like just do we put the business to the side? How do we handle that?
One thing many people don't know, let me just kind of level set the playing field. Many people don't know that Wilmington, where I grew up at, is Little Hollywood.
Mm.
So there are a ton of movies that, you know, come through the Wilmington area. So when I was 15, I actually broke into the movie industry. Again, I was young, was able to get in there. Directors were able to say, hey, come on in, learn. You know, they gave me that open platform. So I kind of branched off into movies. I did many things. Inkwell, which was probably my biggest motion picture that was there, but I was a part of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was a part of some of the, very, very popular, blockbuster type of movies that came through Wilmington. I had an opportunity to be a part of those. So I kind of stemmed off into movies there. Um, I've always had a desire to go into movies and to do television. That I have always had a desire to do. And that is still a huge passion. In fact, I'm working on several projects now that would probably take me into that arena very quickly. That has always been a goal of mine. Um, so I did that, but I've always been one to play it safe. That's why I wanted to go to college. I think by the time I got to college, I probably had enough business to not go to college and continue what I was doing. But I elected to go to college because I felt it was the right thing to do. I wanted to further my education, and then I wanted to play it safe, right? Um, the downside to this area, even though Wilmington was Little Hollywood, as they call it, I knew in order for me to really make it, um, you had to be in LA or New York, right? Those were the places, especially in the 90s. Now, it's kind of with technology. I mean, you can do it pretty much anywhere, but at that point, it was either LA or New York. You had to go in those two places. So I wanted to go to UCLA. My mom said it's definitely too far. No question about it. Wanted to go to NYU, saying maybe a little too dangerous there. So I elected to go to North Carolina State here, I'm thankful that I did do that. But as I got here and started doing more research and started talking with people, I started studying folks like the Oprah Winfrey's of the world. And I quickly learned that cash is king.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the money, you can dictate and do what it is that you really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of folks have their different stories, right? And their stories basically take them in different paths. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to either having a strong sponsor or having money to do what it is you want to do. And again, I chose to play it safe. So I elected to go into the business side of it. There, save money, then I can get the equipment that I really needed to do what I really wanted to do and to produce the quality that I really wanted to do.
So it took longer.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it wasn't about getting there quicker or getting there fast and in a hurry, right? I've always been one to not put all my eggs in one basket as well. So I have a very strong computer background from my childhood, from my childhood age. So I elected to major in mass communications to kind of keep that connection with the entertainment industry. But I actually went in as I was in college. I actually went into corporate America, and I went to IBM, which at that point IBM, their largest campus was here, 10 minutes from my school
In
um,
North
in
Carolina.
North Carolina, yes, in Research Triangle Park. So I actually went there in their call center. And what that did, it afforded me, one, to make a ton of money, number one, while I was in school, allowed me to pay my way through school. It allowed me to get a lot of extensive background. But what it did, I think more importantly, is it put me in front of all of the latest technology. So I was able to have hands on to all the latest technology, have access to all the key folks within IBM. So I actually I worked in corporate America for 13 years, 14 years, I think it was there. So my life as a child kind of went in different directions. Never again lost the initial path, right? But I've taken many turns that will allow me to have a skill set and to financially secure myself and my family so that whatever it is that I want to do, whenever I elect to do it, I'm able to do it. So that for me has been the most rewarding thing that I can choose my path at this point in the game.
I love that. And I want to highlight the lessons that you gave us. One, study the people that have done it and kind of like trace their steps back. So that's what you did. Like, this is who I look up to. This is what they have done, is where I want to get to. How did they get there? The conclusion was money. And allowing your goal to take a pause without feeling like you didn't accomplish it or you're not following it. It's more like, I'm creating space so I can actually make it happen. That's like,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think for me, I've been able to advance so quickly in life. Number one, mentorship is huge. And I talk about that in one of the books that I did. Mentorship is huge for me because I've always been one for connecting with folks who have done what it is that I'm trying to do. And I say it all the time, even whenever I go out and I do motivational speaking, those types of things, I say it all the time. Connect with a mentor because they've done what it is you're trying to do. They've been in it for 20 years. And our conversation can help save you 20 years of headache, right? They can tell you what worked, what didn't work. You can't learn those things in a book. You can't learn those things in school. Those are priceless, right? If you connect with many people who have done what it is you're trying to do, you'll start to see the circles, what really worked for multiple people, what didn't work for multiple people, so you know what not to do and what to do. And that has allowed me to advance very quickly in life in all of the different entities that I've been a part of. So I would encourage anyone definitely to connect with a mentor That has been very helpful. I would also say I've always been taught that a delayed blessing is not a denied blessing, right? So it's perfectly okay if you have a goal to put it on hold for a few to live life, right? You don't have to lose your dream, even though it's not going to happen tomorrow, or even though it doesn't happen tomorrow. In fact, I found that me delaying many things has allowed it to come a lot easier, and the struggles have been a lot less because I did elect not to be selfish, but to set it aside, to do other things and to help other people. I help a tremendous amount of people along the way, and that's been most fulfilling for me. I'm able to help other people and along my journey as well. So that's been very, very instrumental as well. So yeah, delayed blessing, in my opinion, is not. In fact, I have one of the goals now, that one of the projects that I'm working on now is going to be a remake of what I did at age 15.
Oh
So
my
we're
gosh.
talking 30 years ago. I'm looking at taking it to a worldwide level. Can't really disclose it at this point, but taking it on a worldwide level now, because I have the finances to do it. I have the equipment to do it. We're 100% 4K now. I have more connections now than I had when I was at a younger age. What I did then at age 15, now I'm ready to take it at the point now to at a worldwide level. So I'm very excited about that project that we'll be working on in the next probably year or so.
That's so cool. And I think, like, thinking, so to give some context, I always talk about inner child healing because I think, especially people like me, children of immigrant parents, there's a lot of childhood experiences that, you know, they're a little hard. And so going back to healing that part of ourselves is really powerful. And with the story of you sharing how you're going to go back to working on a project that you started at 15 years old, it really sounds like, I mean, it sounds like inner child work, but it's it's a reminder for us to not forget what we were excited about when we were younger.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, to your point of now having the wisdom, the resources, the connections, you can actually make it happen how you probably imagined it then, which is really powerful.
Absolutely. And it's funny because the same framework, without going too far into it, is almost identical to how it was then. Um, but we add a little touch of, a little sugar here, a little sugar there, a little sugar here, do a little tweaking. And I think it's going to be very, very exciting and very impactful. So like I said, I have no regrets on any avenue that I went down as a child, any avenue that I went down um, through my college career, my corporate career, anything, because I believe this one project is going to allow me to incorporate every piece that I've learned along the way. Um, and it will enhance this project, I think, become that much more powerful. So I'm very excited about that.
To bring it back to your comment on mentors, what would you say with, and I don't know if you ever came across people that didn't want to help, because there's people like that. There's really generous people that, of course, they want to give, probably because you were young and they were like, there's, like you said, there's no threat. But as you grew older and you started reaching out to folks, did you ever encounter people that were like, oh no, you're actually going to become my competitor, I'm not going to share, type thing?
It's funny you say that because I remember at age 15 um, having that conversation like it was yesterday. Like I said, from age 10 to 14, everybody it was all game. Everybody was Team Euran. Um, when I was 15, I went on BET, a show called Teen Summit, and that's where I got my international exposure. That was there, and I was able to talk about my success as a child and what I really wanted to do. And I talked about how I started my business, how it grew, kind of what we're doing now. Went up to DC and I was actually on the show live. In fact, I was highlighted through that show with from Coca-Cola at that point in time. I was highlighted as one of the top 10 teams in the nation through that particular show. But coming back from that show, I remember connecting with another videographer in the Wilmington area at that point, and basically asking for advice there. And it was like night and day. 2 weeks before that, it was, all about how can I help? How can I help?
Mm-hmm.
After that show, it was as if, whoa, um, I'm not going to give this kid any more information because now I think he may be a true competitor. I remember that as if it were yesterday. That was my first real lesson of, I, I won't say jealousy because I think that's a strong word, but for folks that may not necessarily be Team Euran, right? May not necessarily want to see you advance. And that was a very powerful lesson that I learned. And I learned it at an early age. I learned that everyone is not for you. Everyone doesn't want to see you succeed. Everyone doesn't have your best interest in mind. And looking back over how that evolved, it has allowed me to be able to pinpoint those people, those types of people out very quickly now.
Mm.
And I get that in all of my companies. And that's a very strong gift to have. That's a very strong gift to have. And I don't say I'm pretty good at it now. I don't say I'm 100% there, but I'm pretty good at it now. And I attribute all of that to that experience at that early in the game that allowed me to have that keen eye now, even as I move through my other ventures.
Totally. And I think it's worth discussing because as we often talk about, get a mentor or reach out to mentors or have, I'm a mentor. I think we're all going to come across people that feel threatened. It happened to me. I hired a coach and she she a Latina coach because I wanted to have someone to look like me. And she asked me, "Where are your clients?" And when I shared, she like I noticed her face was like, "No, that's not where they are." And I was like, "Why not?" And she was like, "Because that's not where they are. They're not going to hire you there." And immediately she went to get clients there.
Wow. Wow.
Like to me, what pained me there is that it was someone that looked like me. Like we both could get clients there.
Right.
It's more like let me just go monopolize the space and that's it. And so that was a little painful, but yes, it's a lesson learned and you move on and 100% people are not going to be for you. And to me, what I learned there was, sometimes you have light that blinds people and you just have to keep it moving.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks are going to, I've learned that um, just stay on your path, right? Stay on your path. Um, and as as you encounter situations like that, I look at those types of situations are just distractions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and trying to deter you from your ultimate goal. So I just view them as distractions now. I will say, it's a funny thing that you say that because I'm actually working. I'm speaking in a few days on Saturday at an event, and one of the things I'm going to talk about is we're going into a season of collaboration.
Yes.
And there's enough work out there now for everybody, right? If you want to do your thing, it's enough work out there for everybody. But I feel that we're going into a season of collaboration. So now, um, even who historically have been a competitor, now business is becoming to the point now to where you have to collaborate with those folks in order to accomplish a larger mission. So I think we're going into a season, not just myself, but just business, the business world as a whole. When you look at even the Super Bowl, right? You look at one of the largest Super Bowls, but it's a collaboration of artists,
Yeah.
right? When you look at airlines, airlines are not trying to collaborate. Businesses are trying to collaborate because problems are becoming more complex, issues are becoming larger, and the opportunities are becoming bigger. So if you're going to stay in the game, you almost have to remove that spirit or remove yourself from folks who have that type of spirit because the collaboration is going to be, in my opinion, what's going to move small businesses ahead over the next 3 to 5 years. So that is going to be very huge. So, like I said, I look at those types of people as distractions. You realize who they are and what they are and where their mindset is, and you just know that you don't connect with those folks. You just move on to other people.
Totally. And I love that you say collaboration because I have my background is in marketing and somebody asked me the other day, where do you think marketing is going? And I was like, 100%, we are moving into the collaboration space. So find people that you can do things with because it's the year of leveraging each other
Yep,
and without seeing like the quote collaboration over competition.
absolutely.
Okay, so let's take a quick coffee break and then we'll come back to your story.
Okay.
Sabrosura pa' ti que.
All right, Euran, do you drink coffee?
I don't drink much coffee, but I do from time to time.
Do you have a beverage of choice?
Um, Now I'm Southern. Remember, I'm from North
Yes.
Carolina. Tea, I do drink hot tea. Sweet tea for sure here.
I was gonna say, is it sweet tea?
Yeah, sweet tea here, but I'm a hot tea person. I drink coffee from time to time.
Do you have a morning ritual, whether with tea or what's your morning routine like?
I would say I get up and hit the ground running, for lack of a better, to sum it all up. But I will say I'm an early person. Typically, I'm up at 5 in the morning. 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I typically start my day. I'm 3, 4 hours in it before the business world starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm up. I typically try to eat breakfast because I'm always on the go. So I try to do that. I don't do as much exercising as I used to. Need to do more. As I get
Mm-hmm.
older, I know that's going to become a very critical point in myself. But that's pretty much it. I'm pretty laid back. Pretty laid back person.
So you don't do tea in the morning? It's like get up, let's go. Water.
Yeah, I hit the ground running. Hit the ground running. I'm an early bird though, so like I said, breakfast is there, maybe tea, orange juice for sure. But I'm pretty much let's go for it.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, I obviously do drink coffee. So on my end, I'm just drinking my regular coffee today. We're chatting at 7 a.m. So
I was going to say
which is
you're West Coast. Remember,
yeah,
I've been, I'm already in the game already, like seven
been up for a
hours, six,
few
seven
hours, I
hours.
know.
Yes, yes.
I actually when I travel to the East Coast, I do feel like I get a lot more done. I don't know if it's because I wake up like I don't go to the East Coast that much. I go to the Midwest. So my sister lives in Kansas City, which puts me 2 hours, not three, but 2 hours ahead. And just waking up on my regular time. So I'm up at 5:30 ish. So I'm also early. But waking up regular time, my 5:30, but puts me so much more ahead of Pacific time. It does make a difference, I will say.
Absolutely. So like right now, I'm 6 hours into the game, right? Been up since 5 this morning. Been going strong. My days are pretty aggressive. I will say that. I go pretty strong. Um, but when I shut it down, I shut it down. So I have more
Mm.
of a night ritual than a day ritual or morning
Ooh,
ritual. When it's time to shut it down, I shut it down. But I go 100%, give it 100% each day. And I think that's part of the work ethic that I've always had.
for sure. What time is your stop work time?
Um, Good question, but I typically try to shut it down 8, 9 o'clock.
Oh,
Um,
long days.
yeah, yeah. And when I say shut it down, I mean like in the bed. So I typically
Okay.
try to start winding down around 6 o'clock. So I typically do about 12-hour days, anywhere from 12 to 15-hour days.
Nice. You're doing what you love, so it doesn't feel like
Absolutely.
overworking. Okay, so since you mentioned your night ritual, what's your night ritual?
Um, I tend to come home. I try to spend time with family. That's really my family time. I have um, set aside or elected to set aside that time. And it always does, it doesn't always end up that way, right? But at least that's the goal, is to try to kind of shut business out and spend time. My wife has been very supportive um, of me, and that's kind of our time, right? I spend time kind of talking about, what's going on with the family, the personal aspect of it. Because one thing about business is you have to have a work-life balance, right? And sometimes it doesn't always end up that way, but if you have that goal, somehow you always tend to make it back to that. And I try to keep that at my forefront as well. So I think that's very important to me. Family is very important. That keeps me stable and keep the balance there.
Grounded for sure. Totally. All right, let's get back to the show. Listeners, as you know, I'm a recovering procrastinator. And because of that, I'm often building ways to getting things done. Inside the annual Manny's Pass, we get to embrace our own unique ways of achieving. Together, in our weekly office hours and cafecitos, we'll find strength in our differences, accountability in our goals, and power in our voices as we heal our inner child through coaching and tapping. Your choice. Let's redefine productivity on our terms. Visit cafecompam.com/Money's Pass and join us. So, we're going to start fast forwarding because we have a few minutes left, but you also started working with your parents.
Yes, my dad in 2008, he had a massive heart attack, and he had a transportation company, a ground transportation company. 2008, he and my mom were at an event, and he basically just dropped. Had a
Oh my
massive
God.
heart attack there. Um, so um, I was kind of forced to kind of step in and continue that operation, continue to run that operation, continue to support my mom. They're very involved, heavily involved with real estate, which
Mm,
my mom has always been at, kind of at the forefront of that and the development side of it. My father has had a transportation company um, for many years. When he passed abruptly, someone had to kind of step in and do that, and that's kind of what led me down the transportation aspect of it.
so he passed from that heart attack.
He did, yes. He had a
Oh,
massive
I'm
heart
sorry.
attack, did not recover. So that was very, very unexpected. Wasn't
Yeah.
sick or anything. That was unexpected. So again, life gives you turns, right? You have to take what card is dealt to you. It's not about how it's, in my opinion, how you respond to it. And this was during my time at IBM. I was still at IBM. My brother was at IBM as well. So some very critical decisions had to be made very quickly. I tried to run the business kind of remotely and from there, but it's a very hands-on, intensive type of business.
Mm-hmm.
So um, from that standpoint, we made a decision that hey, we need to go into the transportation aspect of it full time if we want to do that or shut it down, and didn't want to do that because it was it was a business that obviously he grew. It was very well established in the community, so we wanted to continue that.
Right.
Um, so at that point, we kind of went into the transportation side of it, and that's what kind of steered me into that aspect of it. I was very fortunate because my dad and I were very close. Um, so again, I kind of was under his wings, just probably more so looking back at it now in the last 6 months to a year prior to his passing. What I didn't know at that point is basically God, I felt, was planning me for that moment.
Oof.
So when it did happen, I was not at a loss. I kind of already knew his thought process, knew kind of where his thinking were. So it wasn't, it made, there's really nothing that can help make something like that happen, make it easier to deal with. But for lack of a better way to put it, it did help that transition because I wasn't completely in the blind. I was able to kind of pick up where he left off. Now my brother's actually in the transportation business with us as well. But that transition was very abrupt, like I said, and was not planned at all.
Right. And this is also a financial crisis.
Yes, it was a challenging point for us. I would say that was definitely a turning point for me. So again, we talked earlier about putting your goals aside, right, and dealing
Yeah.
with what you have to deal with at that point in time. That's an excellent example of that in order to kind of keep things moving. And my mom is very into entrepreneurs as well, but I mean, the entities are so large, she could not do it all by herself. And that was something that we understood at that point.
For sure. Wow. And so you start with the both with two businesses. So you have the production company and the transportation at this point.
Yes.
How do you manage both? Especially because one is so sudden and you have to make big decisions, transitions. How do you decide how to split your time?
The transportation aspect is very hands-on, very much so hands-on, and you have to be there. Liability is there. It's a moving, it's always a moving part, right? So, and at one point, we expanded that transportation entity from, we had daily operations from pretty much every major city from DC all the way down to Atlanta. So we grew that very large, but the positive about it is it's seasonal to a certain extent. You have your peak times, March, April time frame. Yeah, it's very, very busy. September, October is very, very busy with the transportation. Those off seasons give you the opportunity to do the other things that you really want to do. Unfortunately, I would say fortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, we've been very blessed in the transportation business to not have the normal down seasons, and that's a blessing. I don't look at that as a curse, but a blessing, right? Because many people were looking for work, but we've connected, been able to connect with different entities and those types of things to where we really don't have downtime. So that's been very fortunate. So transportation has absorbed a lot of time. But to answer your question, there's a balance there. Most of the times when one entity is at its slow point, the other is at its peak point, right? So
Mm.
we're able to transition, and it's worked well. It's worked well. I will say there are some times to where everything is tugging on you at the same time, and that's business, right? So you've got to figure out how to make it work. It's definitely one where you have to prioritize. You have to understand what requires your attention at that very moment, and you have to basically do that. It's all also about delegation. I learned very quickly the art of delegation.
Mm-hmm.
But there are simply some things to where you have to have hands on. Some of the projects with transportation, I feel that I have to be there. I have to do. We do some very large transportation entities where I know I'm going to be there. And those things, you basically kind of carve out scheduling wise and know that this day, this week, or this event, you will be there. You have to be there. So it's about prioritizing and doing that. And again, the early days have helped me do that and helped me to understand the importance of that.
For sure. So tell us what you do now.
What I do now, honestly, I'm at the point now. I've always had a goal of work now and enjoy life later, or enjoy life now and work later, right? I elected to do the first. So at this point, I still have the transportation company. I still have my production company. I have a consulting company as well. I'm at the point in my life where I can choose to do or get involved with what I want to get involved with. I'm also at the point now to in life to where um, I I want to I I want to help others. I want to be able to step back into the community. I've always been a giver, someone to help. And I'm not one for looking for a lot of publicity. I help um, entities every day, through philanthropy or through just knowledge, sharing wisdom, public speaking, those types of things. I'm at the point in my life now to where I can do that, and I'm able to do that. So I still am involved with everything. I'm on a number of boards where I can give back. I'm very well involved. I have an endowment at the University in Wilmington, so I give a lot for scholarships. So I'm able to do those types of things. I speak to business schools. I speak to sharing my experience. I go around and doing that a lot to basically help someone who may be trying to um, get to or do what it is that I've already done, right? So it's about giving back. And that's kind of where I am now. Enjoying my life, watching my kids grow now, kind of helping them find their way through life, enjoying marriage. So I'm basically enjoying myself right now. Like I said, I'm still involved in all of the businesses as well, but looking forward to seeing what the next chapter would bring. Like I said, I don't see myself in any way, shape, or form retiring because I'm always one to be active. I will always be active in something, as my mom is right now. She's very much so involved, and as I mentioned, it's in the blood. So I will always be involved in some projects in one way, shape, or form. But I am looking forward to the collaboration, doing larger things, collaborating with many folks, and ultimately, I think I will go back and get into the entertainment business a little more than I am right now. So I think that's the direction that I'm definitely heading
That's
towards.
awesome. Tell us all the places and spaces where we can find you.
You can go to my website, which is eurandaniels.com. Um, and if you're interested in what I've done in the past, that's definitely the spot for it there. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, pretty much all the socials, right? I'm there. And like I said, I'm very low key. I'm starting to come out in the spotlight more now. But I'm pretty much on every social. Love to connect with anyone who's looking to business venture or do some different things there. I'm always about venturing, as long as it's for the betterment of the community or the betterment of an individual. Then yeah, I'm all about it. All about collaboration, like I said. So
Yeah.
pretty much on all the socials.
Awesome. So, the last few questions. Do you have a remedy that you want to share with us?
I would say, I live on many things, right? Why pay the price when the best things in life are free, right? And that's
Mm.
kind of the motto that I went through as a child. I also live upon. I'm quoted a lot in saying, "If better is possible, then good is not enough." Which means you
Mm.
can always continue to work hard at what you're doing because there's always room for improvement. That's there. I think those are really, really the two things. And from a business aspect, I would say I've really been focused on putting the right people in the right job at the right time. And I
Mm.
think that's very critical from the business aspect. And I think all three of those remedies have been what has carried me through the different aspects of it. Continue to work hard, continue to improve. There's always room for learning, and basically continue to do your best with whatever it is that you're trying to do.
For sure. That was actually a question that I wanted to ask you is how do you decide who to hire first?
I think passion is very key. If an individual is passionate about it or passionate about whatever it is they're going after, that's very key. Especially when you're in intensive industries or markets like transportation, right? You have to want to be there. It's not just a 9 to 5 to get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
The mindset now for individuals are a little different than they were 10, 15 years ago now. So we're dealing with a different mindset now. But right now, my focus is getting. I would rather leave a position vacant than having the wrong person in that position. And many
Mm.
people will argue me with that, but I find myself and have done that in the past. And I've learned from it, right? But it's very key, I think, in having the right person in the right seat at the right time because they can do more harm to you if they're not the right
Yes.
person in that slot. And you find yourself going back doing a lot of cleanup for wrongdoing and those types of things for whatever reason or another. So I think that's very, very key.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming to Cafe con Pam. This was super fun. You left us with so many nuggets that we can take on for life. We appreciate you and your work. Thank you so much for coming.
Listen, thank you for having me, and anything we can do to support you, I would be more than happy to do that. But thank you for having me on.
Thank you. All right, listeners, that was my conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned so much. I definitely did. I kind of wanted to stay and ask a lot more questions because Euran has just so much knowledge and wisdom and learnings. He's I mean, he has just so much wisdom from all the things that he's achieved in his life, and we can definitely keep learning because I'm a big fan of learning from people that have done it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's already so many people that have done incredible things, and we can always learn from them. We can always take things that are supportive to us in whichever way and apply them to our lives. So I really hope this episode was supportive for you and you found some great nuggets. I would love to hear that actually. Tag me, screenshot and tag me and let me know how this episode resonated with you. If you're listening on Spotify, this is a great time for you to tell me your notes. Write whatever it is on the question inside of Spotify. It's really cool to see your thoughts when you choose to share them on there. I really enjoy reading your thoughts about the episodes. Y bueno, listeners, this is the time when I ask you to consider supporting Cafe con Pam in order for us to continue to do the podcast at no cost to you for free. Of course, as you know, we are bringing in sponsorships, we're doing brand partnerships, and this is what how we are covering production costs. And your reviews are a free way to support us. Ratings and reviews. This is a great way for you to not only share your thoughts, but also invite other people to learn more about the show and understand what is it that you resonate with so perhaps they can consider it. Some questions to support you if you're choosing to leave a review. What do you love about the show? What were you expecting before you listened? And how would you describe the show to your best friend? Those are some questions that you may consider if you feel kind of like stuck and you're like, okay, fine, I'll leave a review, Pam. Um, so those are some questions that I can leave you with so you can kind of like get started with it. You're on YouTube, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, leave some comments on the podcast, and we can definitely respond. We're still learning the YouTube, but definitely search for Café con Pam on YouTube and follow us if you and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And listeners, let's stay connected. I would love to stay connected with you on the socials at Café con Pan Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Check out our website. We have a lot of information on cafeconpam.com. We have all the episode notes, including this one. We have the pour over articles because we have started now sharing stories through the written form. And pour over articles have been actually quite fun to develop and to learn about other people's stories. So check it out. And of course, check out the Money's Pass because that's a great way for us to work together. It's a joy. It's truly a joy. I had to reschedule office hours today and I was really sad because I had a last minute meeting that I had to attend to. And office hours is super fun. I show up once a week to support you. And so this is the most affordable program I've ever offered because I want to make sure that my work is successful. If we want to work one on one, let's do it. But the Money's Pass truly is a joy to create, a joy to show up for you, a joy to support you and co create this space together. Check it out, cafeconpam.com/Money's Pass. And thank you, listeners, so much for being here today. Can you believe 349 episodes? Holy smokes. Bueno, thank you so much for being here today. We'll be in touch. Como siempre, stay shining.
Sabrosura pa' ti que